Dad Life presents Screen Geeks, live TV and film talk show. Tonight we're going to share our first reactions and thoughts for Matt Reeves' The Batman film. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I got you!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Screen Geeks. My name is Jay, and with me, as always, on this journey of screen geekery is my good friend Ralph. Ralph, how you doing tonight?
Great.
You literally just got back to your house from seeing the movie.
Yes. 10 minutes ago, I had gotten in my car.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I'm happy that we will have one of the freshest of takes from you, my friend. I saw it Thursday night.
Right.
So mine is I've marinated in mine a little bit. So my thoughts have had a few days to kind of percolate, and yours are like the rawest of raw thoughts on this movie.
I mean, the end credits might still be going on.
Well, don't worry. There's not really an end credit scene. It's just kind of like a link to a thing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about basically kind of run through our first reactions, our first takes, our first thoughts on this film. So with that, I had a few people say in the chat like, "Hey, I'll come back later because I haven't seen it yet," and it's a good thing because this is a spoiler-filled discussion. So if you have not seen the movie yet, it's okay. That's perfectly fine. Feel free to watch this afterwards. If you're here live, hopefully I would hope that you have seen the film, all 3 hours of the film, and so this is your spoiler warning. I think do I have one that's just a banner? I don't think so. Maybe not. I thought I had a banner once that said spoiler alert the whole time, but still, we are talking about the film through and through. I don't know what is a spoiler and what is not considered a spoiler, so we're just saying spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it yet, that's okay. Come back and watch afterwards. That's perfectly fine. But Screen Geeks is usually a spoiler discussion, or we're just talking about it. So anyway, there you go. Final warning. And there you go. All right, so let's say hello to the chat. A lot of these people actually had to leave, like Riley Bob, Dartherian, Mecha Manblade. But Matt Bush is here. Cobweb is, I think Cobweb hasn't seen it either. But John Rhodes, Fishkrella, Caesar, David V is here. Helder Santos. Riley Bob's hitting the like button and dipping out.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you, Riley Bob. Appreciate it. Green Challenger. Spoilers. No, I'll check back next week, Excelsior. That's all right.
Hit the like.
Hit the like.
On your way out, hit the like.
There you go. Exactly. Colleen is here. I know she saw it because she saw it with me Thursday night. Geeky Ninjas is here. Going to see it. Geeky Ninjas. Macanita Silva. So, Ralph, should we, I guess, give pretext to our thoughts before going into this film, or do you just want to let it all out?
Well, here's the thing: is you know me, number one Green Lantern fan,
you're a Green Lantern fan,
and in the last 12 years now, there's just been the one Green Lantern.
Yep. But it's been 10 years since
that
the
time
solo Batman film, though.
I mean, but how many Batmans have we had?
A few.
Yeah. Same with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think Tobey Maguire was still Spider-Man when Green Lantern happened.
Yeah, maybe.
Technically. Anyway, I'm pretty tired of all the Batmans. And thank you. Stevie got me water.
Oh, beautiful. Good. Thank you, Stevie.
Literally no time.
Yeah.
I had no time.
Yep.
And I was ready for the movie. I had a big, nice Mountain Dew that was really, really tall. And it was a 3-hour movie, and I don't like getting up for movies. So this rush coming home was like the real deal. And a little bit of a spoiler, like in the last act, there's a lot of water and flooding.
There is.
That doesn't help anybody who's drinking the large Mountain Dew. Come on, you got to think these things out.
A 3-hour movie trying to avoid a pee break. It's just literally gushing water the last 30 minutes of that movie. I didn't even think about
that. But going into it, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've kind of never really cared about this movie. I was really excited for the score because we love Giacchino's music.
Yeah, of course.
And we've been waiting for it for a long time for the movie to come out.
Yeah.
But I just didn't care. Even today, I was like, I guess I'm excited. I'm going to go see a Batman movie. It wasn't. So going into it, whatever. Coming out, I was like, whoa, I really like that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I going into it, I'm thinking to myself, okay, the fans of Screen Geeks, or let's just say some of the Screen Geeks trolls that show up for like the Masters of the Universe Revelations.
Yeah.
The He-Man ones. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be the thing where the He-Man guys realize that I'm just not positive about everything I see.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into this super long Batman movie, a character that I'm not really into, and I'm just going to be like, whatever. This is finally the Screen Geeks where I'm just like, whatever. I really like this movie. I thought it was awesome. And I can't, like, it makes me happy because, I mean, I kind of like promoting positivity.
Sure, absolutely.
But I was definitely bracing myself to be like, just look for the positive stuff. Don't dwell on this awful Batman, Robert Pattinson sort of thing.
Yeah.
But no, from the get-go, I fully enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Like there was, I actually had a pretty good faith in this film just because of all of the people involved. Matt Reeves, loved the Planet of the Apes films. Michael Giacchino, we've known his work for decades at this point. Now we know he's gonna bring his A game. It's gonna be fantastic. And I'm a big fan of Robert Pattinson. Zoe Kravitz is fantastic. Jeffrey Wright, he's fantastic in everything he does. And Colin Farrell, like looking like he's getting lost in that role. So I had faith in all of the pieces. It was to your point. It was like, what's the execution going to be? It's 3 hours. It looks pretty dark, but
we've seen a lot of Batmans since 1966 through Super Friends, through Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher. We've seen like every iteration of Batman, top to bottom, cartoons, different version of cartoons, different styles of everything. So it's like, what else can they do?
Yes.
And this one sort of found a thing that's different.
Yeah.
And I think that thing is, it's not hyper realistic. There's a bit of a fantasy element to it. It's dark and stuff, but it just has a little more of a comic book feel to me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the narration at the beginning and end. Every single comic book has like narration from your main characters and what they're thinking and what they're doing. And I'm glad the narration didn't last through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, when they're establishing what Gotham looks like and the tone, it really felt like, okay, I'm reading a more grown-up version of the Batman comic. And I dug it. I really dug
it definitely was it. I think it pulls from The Longest Night, year 1, I think some of year 2. It felt the most comic book version of Batman on screen. Like it felt like I was reading a collected story, and it really presented itself like that. And to your point, where like the 89 Batman, the Burton Batman was kind of like bringing it into the modern era of superhero movies and making it serious, not campy. That's like the Burton, and it's still very Burton-esque. Schumacher is just like bright, colorful, maybe a bit back into the camp. Nolan was like, how do we make it as realistic as possible? Like, this is a real world thing. Like, you could believe this Batman could exist. Justice League, Batman v Superman, whatever. And this one just felt like,
but don't discount Ben Affleck with what he had. He was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's not really, save for George Clooney, there's not a Batman I'm like, meh. Most people do a pretty good job. There's not been a turd of a Batman performance. Again, save for, and that's not even Clooney's fault, maybe. But but what I loved about this is it knew that everybody knows the origin story. Everybody knows why Batman's Batman. Everybody knows, like, it's so ingrained in the culture, and it didn't waste any time on that. It just dropped you into a story, and you just followed Batman in this and just being a detective, being the world's greatest detective, and trying to solve the case. And that's what was, I think, just so, to your point, like, refreshing about it, because all the other Batman's films, even the Batman versus Superman, they started with the Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed, and spoiler, right? Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed, and etc. Like, it didn't need any of that, because we already know that. We don't need it. It just drops us right into the story. It's year 2 in the story. There's all of this previous stuff that's happening. Like, Jim Gordon and him already have a relationship. Like, there's just so much stuff that's already kind of been that has existed in this world, and we're just joining into this story, which is what I loved about it.
Right. I think my only complaint, and this has been my complaint since 1989, Batman in a black suit. I was hoping, eventually we'll get a blue and gray suit Batman in a live action film, other than the 66 film. But at the end, when he said he could be a beacon of hope, I was hoping to see it. I was really hoping to see it. That's one of the things that happened in Darwin Cook's New Frontier, was the shift between Golden Age Batman, where he wore kind of black and gray with the purple gloves, and moved into the Robin era Silver Age with the blue and gray. Was that he realized that he's too scary even to the people he's trying to help. And so as soon as he said, I should be a beacon of hope, I'm like, oh man, give me a shot. Because they did that in No Way Home, in Spider-Man No Way Home, at the end, where he finally gets the Ditko suit.
Yep. Good point.
That's another series that they're like, we know what the origins are. We don't have to show Uncle Ben dying for a third time. So I was like, oh, it was so close. And I mean, there's room for a sequel. I'm assuming this movie's going to do well, and I can't wait. I would really like, because the suit still looks very rough, and they don't say it in the movie, but we know that the battering in his chest is made from the gun that killed his parents.
And it's like his battering comes out of the chest. It's kind of cool.
But it's made out of the gun parts that killed his parents. It would be nice if he becomes a beacon of hope, takes that part out, and turns it into the shiny, the yellow circle that we see. The bat signal's such a symbol in this movie that it would be cool for him to take that symbol and wear it proudly on his chest. And just his suit, you could see the stitches on the nose and along the cowl and stuff, and it's just like, okay, this is like Mark 1 suit. And he's growing into this Batman persona. I seriously, sequel, let's do it. Just do the blue and gray. Let's just do it.
It'd be like a blue gray, a dark blue. I don't have
it could be like midnight blue. It could be really dark stuff, but I mean, just it's in the comics. Like, the comics rarely, unless it's like Batman 89, like even Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, he was in the blue suit. Like every comic iterations, he's in a blue suit. Sometimes he doesn't have the yellow.
No, I agree. I do want to plus on this comment from Ghost Have. I did hear reviews that there's no Bruce Wayne persona yet. What are your thoughts on Bruce Wayne's movie? I like that, because this Batman movie was the most Batman movie. It didn't waste any time on the Wayne stuff.
When I was a kid, 1989, I saw Batman, and I'm like, there's not enough Batman.
Right?
I like Michael Keaton, but he's mostly Bruce Wayne in the movie. This is like what, 90% Batman, 10% Bruce Wayne, which I absolutely loved.
Yep.
Does sort of mimic Man of Steel, where Man of Steel is more of an origin story for Clark Kent. It's how Superman becomes Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And this movie feels a little bit like that.
Yeah, to me, it's just like it actually makes more sense for somebody that's that traumatized and is deciding to take on a persona of a bat and like is basically being a vigilante, that he has become, his personality is Batman and there is no Bruce Wayne. And
the Riddler says it.
Yeah, exactly. And
one of the funny things early on in the movie is one of the first time we see Batman. Bruce Wayne, he's in the cave talking to Alfred. He's got his eye makeup on. And he leaves the room and his jacket does look pretty puffy. And I'm like, we need to get a better shot of this puffy jacket Batman, because the McFarlane toy might be accurate. There's scenes in this movie where he's dressed as a guy. And he's got a really bulky jacket and an even bulkier backpack. Dude, he's wearing the suit under all that stuff. And he's got the cape. He's got the cape in the backpack. You know it. The suit. It doesn't make the toy better.
Exactly.
It doesn't make the toy better, but it's kind of screen accurate. He has all that armor tucked under that jacket.
We assume that was the case, but like, why does there need to be a figure of this?
There's a scene where he's has his shirt off, and he's really narrow. He's really thin. So he's really bulked up when he's wearing the bat suit, and that's underneath that jacket. So of course his head looks small. He carries so much bulk in that suit. There's a part towards the end where Batman does this flip and lands on top of Catwoman. She's trying to pull him up from falling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way anyone could pull up all of that
the
suit.
same thing when she's trying to save him, like he has to weigh like 300 pounds.
Oh, at least. And then he lands on top of her. I'm like, you're gonna crush her, dude. That's a lot of armor. You are not that big. And that armor is really bulky.
Yeah. Well, is this the most like armorific Batman suit? Because he was just taking straight up like, automatic machine gun fire.
What's funny about that too is this bat suit also has the biggest mouth opening area.
Yes.
And it's like, guys, we all know if you want to kill Batman, shoot him in the mouth. And you've got the biggest mouth target ever. Look at that dude's jaw; it's huge.
Yes,
just but the machine gun spray everywhere.
Yeah, I hit the like button though before you leave, T Ponder.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do want to mention that because I did really liked his presence in this film, like his approach. Like the Nolan films, it was kind of the ninja thing, like in the shadows, I'm in and out, you know what I mean, like see me. Michael Keaton, he was kind of limited, so it's kind of these sweeping motions and stuff like that. And this one, he's just kind of like, come at me. I'm just gonna walk straight at you and pound you into submission. This scene I thought was one of the cooler scenes in the film. This is from the trailer, where it's the elevator scene and they're just like shooting at him, and the thing that's lighting it up is the guns being shot at him.
Right.
What was your thoughts on this scene as well as some of the other action set pieces in this film? Because I really dug them.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this with Peacemaker. Like a lot of times you tend to get action that's really close up with shaky cam. This didn't have that. You can see the action, and when you're in a theater and it's completely dark and you're just getting strobes of this fight.
Yeah,
from the machine gun fire.
Yes,
it's like leaving impressions in your eyes.
Yeah,
and you're like, it's fun just seeing Batman's down here. Now he's up here. Yeah, now he's going this way. Yes. And you're like, what am I missing in between this stuff? Because he's really moving fast.
Yes,
like so fast where it's tricking my eye. And I'm sure there's some camera trickery and stuff. But, it's exciting to see him just like duck all this stuff and get underneath and stuff. Also, the Catwoman fighting was really good. She's really quick. A lot of ducking and kicking.
Yeah,
nice quick fights. hard punches. But speaking of like Batman's presence in this movie, the footsteps are awesome.
Oh,
his
yeah.
big old clompy footsteps with his big old boots. But right off the start, like the police don't like him there, like the regular boys in blue don't like Batman being on the scene. But my favorite was he was just surveying the room and he would stare at something. He didn't have to say anything. And then as soon as he looked away, the crime photographer was like, "Ooh, what was he looking at?" Took a picture of it. Like, so he was finding clues, and he has such a reputation that everybody knows. Whatever he's looking at is important. And
that was like his,
and then the concept,
scene, right? Or that was his that wasn't his opening scene, because the opening scene was the joke fighting the Joker gang or whatever. But
it was like a skull gang.
I
don't know if they were Joker.
Okay.
They kind of look like
I know there's those too. Actually, is that a Joel Schumacher reference? Because they were in Batman Forever,
the Dayglow.
Maybe. But yeah, like that scene was really cool. But let's just talk about that. This is like the first movie we've gotten where Batman is doing the world's greatest detective bit, where he's like on the scene, looking at clues, piecing things together. I love that Alfred's helping him with the cipher and stuff. But what was your thoughts on that approach? I really dug it.
I loved it. I thought it was great, and that's where you get the new take. You get a kind of a little bit of that in the Nolan ones, but this one is all about the case. I like the riddles. The riddles were fun. The whole rat with wings thing, like, guys, really? I got that a little bit before Batman did, and I kind of felt the same way.
I think Penguin did. That's where she's like, come on, obviously. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was like, oh, well, at least someone notices that they're not getting it. But I mean, all in all, like the way they were delivered on like really weird, like Hallmark cards from like the 60s. Hoping this Christmas, Warner's releases those.
Oh man.
I mean,
do you think they will?
I mean, they're sinister, but they also feel like regular old, like you don't have to put like coded messages on them, but on the surface, I feel like they're perfectly normal, you know? So they wouldn't be sinister if you give someone, like if I gave my mom one of those cards, it would have, you know, the front and inside would have a nice thing to say. Okay. And then, you know, she wouldn't know any better.
Homie's a fan asked how many villains are in this movie. A few, but the big is the Riddler. And Paul Dano, who's a fantastic actor, like he plays a lot of roles really well, especially kind of the creepy, eerie characters. And I thought he did a really good job. There's a lot of elements of like Heath Ledger's Joker a little bit, like the like this little video thing, the way he like would go quiet to screaming and stuff like that. But I thought it was a really, for a character or out of the rogues gallery, one that maybe isn't always a top tier, maybe as menacing as some of the others. I thought the Riddler in this film was actually a terrifying presence. The way he was introduced, when he just like the light of the TV or something hits him, so you see him in the room right behind the mayor, like that scared the crap out of me, and it was just so creepy. I really dug it. What was your thoughts on the Riddler?
There was I kept reading stories ahead of time about this movie, talking about like a scene too intense and it's so intense and this and stuff. I'm like, you're gonna be shocked, and people were like had to get up because they felt sick. I'm like, I don't know which one that was. But all of the Riddler's sort of schemes, like with the rats chewing the dude's face, the police chief's face, and then the oh gosh, is it Peter Sarsgaard? Is that his name? The actor played Hector Hammond in Green Lantern.
Oh, you're right. It
where he had the bomb around his neck and a cell phone taped to his hand. That was nuts. That was like, holy crap, this is insane. Like this is really tense. And this phone just keeps ringing. And ringing,
oh my God.
And ringing so long, where he's just sitting there on the chair and you're waiting for this bomb around his neck to go off. And he's got the tape over his mouth, and he's got for the Batman letter on his chest, and this phone is just ringing, and you're like, they send in a bomb a robot to go stop it, and I'm like, well, it's not, that phone needs to be answered. And then you hear the footsteps, and you're like, oh, here we go. Dude, Batman Batman is nuts. He's
Yes.
gonna walk in there.
Yes.
And come face to face with it. Like that, I thought was amazing. That whole sequence was like, it was super tense. I'm like, this could, we all know Batman has a ton of armor on.
Sure.
Like, he should be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sit here and watch this go down.
Yes.
I don't. And then the Riddler puts a clock on. He says, you got to answer these 3 riddles in 60 seconds or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to go right down to that last second.
Yep.
And it was super crazy because you don't know, like, Batman needs to be there long enough to get the letter off his chest, and it's the first thing he does. And I'm like, dude, now that you took the letter, he can do whatever he wants to this guy.
Yeah.
Like, go for the phone first.
Yep. And I think it's definitely had the Zodiac Killer. The costume I thought was fine because I liked how he's clearly one of the, I think the really interesting parts about this film is Batman and his very brutalistic approach to vengeance is what inspired the Riddler to take shape in the plot that he planned. And so I like that his mask, even the nose, where the nose is stitched and everything, is very similar to Batman's cowl. I really dug that. Yeah. Is it comic accurate? No, not at all. Like it's definitely trying to do its own thing, be very creepy or whatever. But I did like that approach to it. And the fact that he wasn't killed at the end, which is something that happens a lot in Batman films. And so he's still around. And the Joker is teased as well at the end of
do we know who the actor is?
It is the guy that was in the Eternals, the creepy one. Did you see Eternals? No. I'll pull it up in a second. But any other thoughts on? I will say there was that aspect. Then he gets put in jail, which is what he wants to do. This is kind of like it's a beat that's been done before. The Joker did it in his film. But I thought what was interesting about this one is him using online social media to create a following that then was going to act out his plan, which in the world we live in today, that to me was the most disturbing element of the film, was the kind of what they're going to do in the Madison Square Garden and kind of do the big shoot up or whatever. That to me was the most like, this is really stressful. And like it's very real world. It's something that you could believe happening just based on what's happened in the world in the past 5-10 years or so. So I think overall the Riddler was a very effective villain in this film when I did not have that level of expectation for him. But what's your final thoughts on the Riddler, Ralph?
When they said he had 500 followers, I got jealous. Follow live action Star Wars, please, everybody. Don't make this my villain origin story. No, it was funny because I was like, I seriously was like, oh, well, he only has 500 followers. But then you realize, oh, that's a lot of people when he's building an army.
Yep.
And as capable as Batman is, by the end of the movie, when you see his followers start taking over that arena, you're like, oh no, 500 is a lot, and this isn't good.
Yep.
And all of their messages, like, don't forget your whatever, your guns, your extra ammo, and your they were having their the saran wrap around their heads. It was very strange. Very, very sort of tinfoil hat. Like and like definitely weird followers. And it was a little frightening.
It's incredibly frightening because if you like, there's a really good QAnon doc on HBO. I can't remember what it's called now, but if you like see, like if you follow that and kind of see, that is really believable because stuff like that has happened. So it was terrifying in its reality, even though it's a comic book movie. It was really stressful. It was really, really stressful. Gary, I didn't like what they did with the Riddler first 2 hours, but his end game was gripping. It was nuts. It was really nuts. Darth Batman, good evening, happy Saturday. I really enjoyed the Batman fight choreography was great, and so is the score. Let's put a pin in the score. I do want to show you, Ralph, the new Joker that's in the end scene of the film as we close out our thoughts here on the Riddler. The person in the jail cell next to him is Barry Keoghan. I think he's a Scottish actor. And then he is going to he played Joker in there, and I guess will be the Joker in the next film. But thoughts on that scene between them? I kind of dug it.
Yeah, I'd like that the Joker had the "riddle me this" line.
Yes. Yep.
And I want to say, I don't quote me on this, but I want to say that whole thing where his riddle was about friends, I want to say was in like a 66 Batman. I could be wrong.
That, or it felt like a very Mark Hamill line, like the whole.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like something like animated series.
Because it definitely had shades of the 66 Batman for me, because in the film, all of the villains come together. So Penguin, Riddler, Joker, Catwoman. I think that might be the 4 main villains in that one. So I'm like, all of those characters were in this movie, and they all set them up for bigger things in a sequel. Like, let's just do Batman 66 storyline
with him in his blue and gray bat suit.
Let's do it.
On Snail World sharing here. I wish they would use a different villain other than the Joker. Thoughts on introducing Joker this soon into this series?
It seems like the thing everybody likes to do. It happened in Nolan's. I guess we didn't get a Joker in Batman v Superman. I don't think we didn't get a Joker tease for that, but
Leto,
I mean,
that Joker, yeah, because
I mean, listen, it's probably the most popular villain of all time.
Yeah. Yep.
And you kind of expect it. They don't need to be in the next one. It's just seeds being planted.
Yeah. I get it.
I mean,
the feel might be, to Snell's point, like it's kind of overdone. There's plenty. Batman has the greatest rogues gallery of any superhero.
Right.
Like we can. That's inarguable, right? So I feel like there's plenty of characters that you go with that are really good gripping villains that you go with. But it's still, Joker's the big. It just as much as Batman is this, cultural icon of a comic book characters. Joker's, I think, just as big.
Again, right now, we currently, depending on the Flash, I'm pretty sure we currently have 3 Batmans right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And with the Suicide Squad, like that Jared Leto Joker still around.
Yeah.
We have the Joaquin Phoenix Joker sort of floating around out there.
Yep.
So my only thing is, again, what are you going to do that's different, that's going to make me want to see this Joker?
Yeah.
So there has to be a fresh take. We got to do something where you're like, okay, cool.
Yep.
And the way the Riddler's portrayed, you can't do a Heath Ledger Joker.
It's true. It's been done. So you can't, I want to try and get a frame here with Selena Kyle's just to set up, but go ahead and finish your thought, my friend.
But that's basically the thing. Luckily with Matt Reeves, he had a somewhat fresh take on this world, and I really enjoyed it. So I trust him. If they do a sequel and he decides to do Joker, should be great.
I agree.
Should be great.
Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman. I thought she's the best Catwoman since Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought she did a fantastic job.
So you're just saying screw Anne Hathaway?
I liked Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
She's the only one though, right?
I guess so. But she felt like she was like in charge, owned it, just had like the kind of sexiness, the charisma, the badassness, the strength, like all of, like, just every single positive attribute you could throw into a human being, like Catwoman has to a certain degree, save for like her proclivity for like criminality. And I think Zoe Kravitz, and I think she's an amazing actress, but I thought she pulled it off amazingly. Oh yeah, Halle Berry as well. You're right, Gary. There was Halle Berry.
Oops.
I thought she aced it.
Yeah. I agree. I thought she was great. Her fighting was awesome. Her storyline was really good. Like, it didn't, I feel like it didn't take a backseat to Batman. I could see if the studio wanted to cut out a lot of this movie, I think she would have hit the cutting room floor. But I'm glad it's in there. And I feel like what happens in the comics is that, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer did it well, and Anne Hathaway, is that the Catwoman doesn't need to rely on Batman.
Yep.
There was one scene,
distress, right? Yeah.
There was one scene where she was.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, okay. Falcone was choking her with the pool cue, and Batman came in and saved her. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Batman has to save the girl. But it gets flipped later when Batman's about to die and she ends up saving him. So I'm like, cool, perfect.
Yep. We're square. And so I'm not saying best ever. I'm just saying I think she's done the best since Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer's my number one all time. But you know, is
she coming back? Have we got confirmation?
Not? If Keaton can come back, why can't Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman? I do want to press in this super chat from Scotty. Thank you, Scotty. Hey, when Riddler met Batman, did he know he was Bruce? You know, thoughts on that real quick, Ralph? I say yes, even though he pivoted.
I think so too. I think he knew. And I think he's going to try to tell more people. I mean, it appeared like they showed the camera showing this conversation, assuming they have audio too from the conversation, because they're able to talk through the glass, which means there's some sort of speaker system. Why wouldn't they have that feed? And it's really easy for them to just chalk it up to Riddler being insane.
Yeah. Well, he kind of pivoted the conversation away, but in the comics, I believe Riddler's one of the few that has figured it out, and he keeps it to himself because you know, he just doesn't want the whole, like, he likes that he knows and nobody else knows, I think is part of his thing. But so I think he did know.
I think so too.
Let's see. Love Zoe in this. Not sure. Is there hate for her? I haven't seen hate. I just thought she did a fantastic job.
I don't know.
I love the dynamic of doing the two of them. That's another thing too, that maybe the chemistry wasn't as strong for Christian Bale and Hathaway, the same way like Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer had. I think the chemistry was really good here, and it played off. I think they played off well with each other on screen.
Yeah.
And they did a good job. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Thoughts on his performance? I thought he did the most with like the least amount of time. I thought he was fantastic. And Colleen, she was like, "Wait, that was Colin Farrell?" I was like, "Yep, that was Colin Farrell."
You can't even his eyes. You can't tell.
I
don't get it. It's we need the behind the scenes makeup thing to see it actually happen. But he was really, really, really good. Probably my favorite of the villains because he was so matter of fact.
Yes.
He was so out there. He just didn't care about anybody else.
Yep.
Even when he got captured, he was still wisecracking.
Yes.
And sort of when you have like this version of the Riddler, just so dark, it's good to have a villain in there where it's like, okay, listen, there's room in here to have a fun villain. And so like setting up like a sequel, I think it'll be fun to have him in it more.
Yes. And that's how kind of set up, right? With Falcone being killed and then him taking it over, or we assume he'll take over that business. I think he will be a more prominent villain in future chapters.
But he was so much fun.
Yes.
That scene with him, Gordon, and Batman was great. Yes.
It was.
They just left him zip tied and he had to waddle. He had to do the waddle to get away. I thought that was a really funny nod. Oh, speaking of nods, 66 Batman, the Wayne Manor had the Shakespeare bust.
He did that. The Shakespeare bust was there.
And me and Stevie and my brother-in-law laughed. We're just like, the Shakespeare bust. Wayne Manor.
Agreed. I thought he was great. And I can't wait to see what he does more. We will definitely talk about the Batmobile and the Batmobile chase in a second once we go through the characters. There he is, Jeffrey Wright. Again, Jeffrey Wright, has he like, bombed in a role? I don't think I've seen him bomb in a role. He does every role. He is just fantastic. Even Westworld, which has gotten bad, he's still fantastic in it.
I haven't seen Westworld.
It's first scenes is amazing, but Jeffrey Wright's amazing throughout. You're a big James Bond fan. I think he was fantastic.
Felix Leiter, yeah,
as Felix. But I thought he was great. I thought he was great in this role. And I loved how they worked together. They were like, two people working a case. And I love the Batman Gordon relationship in this film. It was the most fleshed out Batman Gordon kind of relationship on screen. It was fantastic.
You think Gordon knows?
I don't know how he wouldn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't know all those people were corrupt in the Gotham PD, so I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know either. Their relationship. I like when he brought in Batman on that first case.
Yeah.
For the mayor's murder, and they're like, "Why is he here?" And then you see the note. You see the note that says
to the Batman. Yeah.
To the Batman. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's really interesting. Everything about them too. Yeah. It was great.
The chemistry was great. It was really good. I love that relationship. I really did. Let's see Alfred didn't get much time in this film. Let me see if I can find a scene with him in this trailer.
I don't know if there is.
I think there is for sure.
Gotta be, right?
It's Andy Serkis. It's Gollum himself. He's not. I could have sworn he was.
It's Caesar.
There we go.
Caesar from the Matt Reeves Planet of the Apes.
He didn't in a 3-hour movie where you had a lot of characters and a lot of characters getting a lot of screen time. I think he suffered the most because he wasn't in it much. But what was there, I enjoyed. I liked that he seemed like he was actually kind of a bodyguard or maybe more of a protector or some type of army person of some sort that was there to protect as opposed to the butler. But what was your thoughts on Andy Serkis's portrayal of Alfred?
I thought it was great. Yeah, he wasn't in there that much. I did like the scene where he blows up.
Yeah.
And Bruce is trying to call him, like all of that stuff. And the follow-up scene in the hospital where Bruce says, like, I thought I was able to get rid of all fear.
Yeah.
Like he thought he built up this callus to fear. And then there's that one thing. So even though he's not really in the movie a lot, he's a pivotal character to Bruce.
Yep. Exactly.
And they didn't have to spend too much time. We've seen Batman and Alfred in we all know their relationship, much like we know Batman's origin story. You really don't have to explain it anymore. We already know it. And so it's nice that they didn't dwell on it too much.
Yeah, true. Snellworld calls out, it didn't feel like 3 hours. Same. I didn't feel like there was no point. I was like, oh, just finish art. No, I didn't even feel bored once.
I feel like it may have felt a little long, but I didn't care because I was really enjoying the way it was shot, the way it looked. Gotham City, I think, is the coolest looking Gotham City since '89.
Yes, yeah,
or I guess 90.
It had a vibe, yeah.
Like I was afraid it was just going to look like Blade Runner, but it really didn't. But I do like that it was like dark with trash everywhere.
Yes,
but then also so many neon signs, so many like Jumbotron signs where it's like this awful place, which is like looks completely like the worst place to live. Yet there's advertisers still out there trying to make money off of these people. And it's just like the grossest. It's the grossest place. My favorite was seeing Gotham during sundown and sunrise. Like I was just like, oh, it actually looks kind of nice. But as soon as it's dark, it's like, oh, it's the worst place ever.
It's kind of the opposite of Vegas, where like you only want to see it at night. You don't want to see Vegas during the daytime.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Let's talk about the titular character Robert Pattinson as Batman. I want to put this scene on here because this was a really emotional scene. This scene really hit me emotionally.
Oh, really?
It did, just because there was that moment with that one of Riddler's acolytes that said, "I am vengeance," and then he like realizes that his whole approach is not the actual thing he should be doing, and he has the narration that says, "I have to give hope as well." And he goes down and he hits the flare, which is like bringing the light into the darkness, where the whole time up until that point he was hiding in the shadows and then coming out of the shadows. And this one, he's going into the light. He saves the kid that he had that connection with from the very beginning. He saves the mayor, and he leads them out of the flood. And I just thought it was just a really moving moment, that it was almost the opposite effect of the Joker. Like, these were the Joker and the Batman films were almost like opposite sides of each other, which I thought was really compelling, where the Joker was almost very nihilistic or cynical about like humanity. And this one, you would think maybe it was going to go out down a similar path, but no, it's like actually showing you have to actually give hope, and there's hope in humanity, and to bring that out, as opposed to, you know, the screw the world or whatever that the Joker felt like. And to me, I just thought that was a really nice mirror image, and I love this scene, and I freaking love. I thought Robert Pattinson did a fantastic job. What was your thoughts?
I haven't seen the Joker.
Okay.
Letting you know that.
That's
weird,
fine.
Right? I've seen every DC movie. I like a whole lot of DC. Just it wasn't something that I gravitated towards. It's right there on HBO Max for the viewing. It's just, I think I have to be in a specific mood to watch that.
You have to be in like the best mood ever, because if you go into that one kind of in a dark mood, you won't get better.
Yeah. The thing is, I like this portrayal as Batman more than Bruce Wayne.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Which for this movie is great, because he's only Bruce Wayne like maybe 10% of the time.
Yeah.
The hair in front of the face and stuff, and him being kind of mopey and looking sad, looking like that McFarlane toy. I wasn't into it that much, but I liked where they were going with this. And by the time you get to the point where he realizes he should be a beacon of hope, that's when you go, oh, okay. Well, and by the next one, hopefully he'll be out of his emo phase. He'll be more of a figure instead of a recluse as Bruce Wayne. He's a recluse. Nobody's been seeing him or talking about him. He's just been in hiding.
Yeah.
And the Riddler kind of brought him out of his shell. And hopefully now he'll understand that he doesn't just need to be a beacon of hope as Batman, but as a Wayne. He needs to take the sins of his father and become this sort of beacon to the community as well.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see him clean himself up, wipe his face off, get a haircut, put on a nice fitting suit, and like go out there and be a pillar of the community. You know, like I feel like this is him becoming Bruce Wayne. This is him trying to find who he is. And I like both.
Stevie, I love this, calling this out, and it's there as well. The mayor expects him to be helping the city more, right? And and that was part of when they're at the funeral for the mayor, and then at the end as well. And so I think you're right on there, Ralph, that it's part of his journey. And Gary, I love you calling this out. I love being on the journey with him. And you know, I think Matt Reeves, the two things that influenced his approach to Batman in this film was Kurt Cobain, where the kind of fame was thrust upon him and he didn't want the spotlight, and then the Kennedys, like all the tragedy for the Kennedy kids and them also not wanting to, like, you know. So I liked the approach, and again, I thought Pattinson just kind of was the Batman. It didn't feel like a certain take on it or certain flavor on it. It just felt like he was being a Batman, and I thought it was really good. Scott D, Ralph seems to think the puffy jacket is justified. It didn't seem that puffy, but
I mean, it's a 3-hour film. I would just go watch it again and look at the jacket during the scene. It was the first scene where he takes the eye thing out and Alfred's there and they're talking and he's walking away. The jacket's really puffy, but we don't get a clean shot of him from the front. So I don't know. But it looks pretty puffy.
But Robert Pattinson as the Batman, a thumbs up. I give him a strong thumbs up. I thought he did great.
Didn't do a crazy voice. Got a little bit into Christian Bale territory at some parts, but for the most part, his Batman voice was just a toned down, quiet, calm.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, there's another thing I wanted to say about this before I moved on, and I've lost it. Oh, I thought he was a really just imposing figure as well on screen. And I asked Colin, I was like,
footsteps.
Right? It's the footsteps, but also I was like, is Robert Pattinson like 7 feet tall, or they get all the actors he worked with are really short, because he seemed to like tower over everybody.
Yeah, when Selena kissed him, I'm like, she really has to reach up. I have no idea. I'm sure the chat. Oh, okay, good.
So Robert Pattinson is 6'1". Val Kilmer was also 6'1". The tallest Batman. What's your guess for tallest Batman?
I'll say Adam West.
Close. I think he's 6'2". Ben Affleck 6'4".
Oh, that's right. I forget that dude's super giant.
Yeah. Shortest, I believe, is Michael Keaton. 5'9", which is my height, which is a perfectly average height, Colin, if you're watching.
So Robert Pattinson's 1 inch taller than me. I liked him. I really liked him. This movie made me so fired up for a sequel to see where they go.
Yes, agreed.
Like where he leaves as a character is so interesting. I mean, listen, I know I want the blue and gray suit. I understand them not doing it, but I mean, you're so close. Just make him that beacon of hope.
I'm not, Colin. Thank you. All right. It's her joke. She likes to give me a hard time.
Yeah.
Okay. The Batmobile, the Bat Chase. Wow. What a action set piece in the rain. It was freaking so cool. What was your thoughts on the new Batmobile? I thought it was great.
A friend of mine gave me for my birthday a Spin Masters Batmobile. Which
the one that I reviewed.
It's the remote control one.
Oh, the remote control. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Toily is playing with it. Wait, hold on. Toily is playing with it right now. Oh. Green Lantern's on the back. Oh, Green Lantern got taken out. Oh, no, he's still on it. It didn't make it. I was hoping it would jump onto the bed. It didn't make it.
But yeah, I think the
Batmobile was rad.
Oh, it was cool.
Is it my second favorite Batmobile? Yes.
What's your number one again?
Oh, Burton's.
Yeah, Burton's. Okay, same.
I mean, the 61's great and classic and iconic, but this thing was rad.
Yeah.
I really liked it. When it fired up.
Yes.
And it was just sitting there like staring at the Penguin. I'm like, oh, here we go.
It was scary. It was like an intimidating car.
The rumble.
Yes. I've had multiple people. I think someone said in the chat earlier. People were there in those like Dolby surround like rumble seat theaters. Said like the starting of the car was an experience to say the least. It was insane. Yeah.
I don't think I could handle that experience with my Mountain Dew. It was a bit much. The car chase. Someone mentioned it earlier that they didn't like how it was executed. It was a little jarring. It was a little hard to sort of get. It was disorienting, but I feel like I like that.
Yeah.
We've seen so many car chases. So a little bit, this is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the James Bond movie Quantum of Solace, where it opens up with a car chase and the camera's just in with Bond and it's just chaos. And for a Bond movie that we've seen every car chase imaginable.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see something different from a different perspective. And this one, I liked that it was disorienting.
Yeah.
I liked that the music cue felt like a horror movie and that the Batmobile was essentially like a stalker.
Yeah.
Like the Batmobile was the imposing force.
Yes. And Gary is going to drop soon. So good to see. Thank you for being with us, Gary. Hit the like button. But yeah, I think just that was what I loved about it, was the perspective of you're in the car with a Penguin, and he's just like trying to get out of, get away from this menacing dark car.
The car was awesome.
That just, the second it was introduced with the engine like just firing and stuff like that, it was like a car out of hell. It was just like, it was the hounds of hell like trying to get the Penguin. And yes, it was jarring, but I thought that was, it just seemed like a very real car chase in the rain. Like it just had this, I just felt very visceral. It was just like a very unique car chase, and I really loved it. I really, really loved it. I thought it was great. Snell says, Jay, do you think that was Joe Chill at the funeral? Oh, the one that was kind of making the comment. Maybe. Oh, you got it.
I drove it to me. I realized it made it to the floor. That's my toy haul for the week.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But I loved it. I love that it was clearly like a kit bash muscle car, because they had some of those scenes where they're showing like just the chains and stuff for the engines and stuff like that in in the Bat terminal. And I don't know, it was really freaking cool. I loved it so much.
I know something about this scene that probably not a lot of people know about.
Oh, the dish.
This might be an exclusive. I don't know. Okay. It might not be my place to say, but I know that Michael Giacchino did not score this scene.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why are you talking?
But if you go to the end credits, you'll see an additional music by credit by Mick Giacchino, who's Michael's son.
Okay, his son. Okay.
And I gotta say, like that sequence, like I knew it was coming, and I know he had scored that. He got to score that. And I told him, I said, dude, like there's not a lot of composers out there that have scored Batmobile chases.
That's true.
And you're one of like maybe 4 or 5. And I thought he knocked it out of the park. The music during that scene is nuts, because for the most part you get a lot of scenes of people talking, and the action scenes are fast and furious and quick and stuff, and they happen like pretty quickly. A lot of it is quiet and talking and stuff. So when you finally get that roar of the Batmobile and then the music kicks in, it's like, oh my god, here we go. Here we go. This is like full on what we've been waiting for. Is like, let's get loud. Like we want this movie to be loud, and it got loud. I really, really enjoyed that. That whole sequence was a lot
that's
of fun.
really cool of Papa Giacchino there for his kid. But let's talk about the score. We may be a little impartial, especially you, Ralph, but thoughts on the score. I had a few friends tell me afterwards, our kind of lost friends that didn't know it was Giacchino going into it, and then afterwards they're like, God, the score is so great. Oh, of course it's Giacchino. That's why I loved it so much. But thoughts on the score. I really dug it.
I mean, I'm sure he's not watching, but I would say that I wasn't super like I didn't fully understand it when they did the tease. I'm like, okay, it's just kind of the same thing going up and it's escalating and stuff. But this Batman theme, in conjunction with the footsteps, just make it imposing. You start getting used to that rhythm that he's created for this Batman theme. You're not gonna like outdo Elfman. It's a completely different approach, and it's the right approach. It's almost like you can sing like "Here Comes Batman" to this tune. Here comes Batman. Here comes, and it gets louder and louder and louder, and then you hear those footsteps, and the footsteps are almost in the same rhythm, and so it turns Batman into this like insane force. Like you hear it coming, and when you hear that, when Peter Sarsgaard, is that who it is? His name is Hector Hammond in Green Lantern. When he's standing there in the church by himself, everybody's left him, and you hear the approaching. You're like, okay, here we go. It's almost like Jaws. It reminds me of Jaws. Like
Sean Phillips said Vader's theme, but very much like a menacing theme.
So in the movie Jaws, everybody knows the Jaws theme.
Sure.
There's a part in the movie where there is a guy with Harry, Bad Hat Harry, who's got the fake shark fin or whatever. John Williams doesn't play the Jaws theme during that part.
Mm-hmm.
He only plays the Jaws theme when it's actually Jaws coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And so this has this sort of like Jaws-esque feeling. Like
Yes.
we don't see him, but we
Mm-hmm.
hear him. And at the end of that car chase, when he gets out of the car,
yes,
and the music's just building and building
Oh,
and
yeah.
building, and then you just see Batman come into frame and like look at the penguin, made me laugh because it was such a buildup, and he just like sticks his head in the
Yes.
window. It was so good. It was real, dude. Like, look at this shot. I kind of wish it was flipped around. Like, I wished. I don't know. But just that silhouette of that Batman with his canteen or whatever the hell he has on his leg, he's like ready to go camping, and that silhouette of the Batmobile with the fire is amazing.
Yeah, it was. I like the flip because there's so many like walking away from explosion things. I kind of liked how it's from the perspective of the penguin, so it's upside down.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it, but I understand.
Can I say so?
The right side.
So they talk about this drug, the drops.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd be like, if you really want to make money in this Gotham, open an umbrella store. Open an umbrella store. There's so much rain in this movie, and I think that's what's
have an umbrella. You say I don't know if he had one that I saw.
No, he had guys to hold his umbrellas. But I did like that that the car chase took place in rain. I don't know the last time I've seen a car chase in rain.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit. It was like
hard.
There was cars sliding everywhere. Yeah. So it kind of added to the confusion of the whole thing in the manic sort of. I mean, you've lived in Southern California. People in Southern California, when it rains, cannot drive. So hopefully the people of Gotham are more used to driving in the rain. But the shot of like the truck tumbling over and catching on fire, but then like the other truck with the ramp comes down right in front of the way, and he just jumps through it. Like, all that stuff I love.
Again, once all of the chaos of all the different moving cars and trucks and stuff, and how everything just aligns up perfectly for the jump. It was so cool. I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
How to pull that off.
Yeah. Very comic booky.
Yes.
A lot of luck for this Batman, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When he has a squirrel suit and he jumps off of the building, takes a breath before he does it, because he's like, oh crap, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And he does it. And then he's trying to land on that bus. So he slows himself down by pulling a chute, but the chute snags on the overpass, nails him into the thing. There's also another moment where he uses his grapple gun, it crashes into the building, and then falls down.
Yep.
Like, he's not perfect. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. But that one, the squirrel suit, the flying squirrel suit, that crash landing was painful. Like, I was like, oh God, that had to hurt.
Oh my God. When he was also doing that kind of messing up and running into stuff while he was on the scoreboard at the arena.
Yes.
And he finally gets pulled up and he gets like shot in the chest. So he has this sort of adrenaline shot.
Like an adrenaline shot.
Yeah. But he has a little tiny door in his armor specifically for the adrenaline shots.
Yep.
So I like that concept of he's all these pouches and stuff on him, and he's taking everything into account.
Yep. Yep.
Including, I have an adrenaline shot. Where am I going to stick it? I'll make a little tiny portal that I can open up and stick directly in there, like it's the same size. It shows that he's been doing this for a while, and he's been tuning his suit.
Yep.
That he doesn't have time to go puffy jacket shopping, so he just grabs the first thing on the shelf, no matter how big it is.
Yeah, I agree. I also like just he's 2 years in, he's still human, and Batman is I think a compelling character because he's human. He's not a superhero, and this is a very human Batman, very flawed, imperfect Batman, and that I think is what made him compelling on screen. But
right.
All right, I think we covered just about everything. Final thoughts, Ralph, on
I mean, obviously I really liked it. I don't know if that's because I went into it not caring. because again, it's another Batman.
Yep.
There's so many of them out there,
Mm-hmm.
but I liked it. If we can just get in the next one, get him being more Bruce Wayne, the philanthropist,
Mm-hmm.
the playboy. Like if we can get just a little bit more of that, it could be really, really great.
I want to catch that. I don't mind that there was no Bruce Wayne in this because I've seen it already. I was fine with no Bruce Wayne.
Oh my God. I know, like, there's not enough Keaton Batman in '89.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then in Returns, it is the Penguin Catwoman show, you know, with side character Batman.
This is the best use of. I mean, I know it was 3 hours long, but one of the problems with like the sort of Burton era was that they started adding, when you got into Forever and Batman and Robin, you started adding too many villains into the mix, and it just got bogged down. And I liked that this was able to have a Penguin story, a Riddler story, Catwoman, and didn't ever really feel bogged down, even though it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would cut out of it because I pretty much enjoyed it. And I mean, I feel like any other Batman movie, I could probably get up and go to the bathroom, but I'm like, I don't want to miss any of the clues.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So,
and the fact that it was like solving a mystery, right? And he was on a case. Yeah. It was a detective film noir case. You're right. Like it carries it throughout.
As soon as the funeral happened, I'm like, oh, I bet you, like, there's a bunch of people that got up to go to the bathroom. And they came back, and there was that dude sitting in a chair with a bomb around his neck. And I'm like, I'm glad I didn't miss that.
Yep. I think
that was crazy.
I had to go, but I went early on, so I don't remember what I missed, but I didn't miss much, thankfully. But yeah, I my final thoughts. I really, I went into it apprehensive. Like I went into it thinking positively because I knew everybody involved were top-notch people. So to me, it's like when you have that caliber across the board, and for the people that were kind of giving our Pats a hard time, I think there are people that just hadn't seen any of his work, knew he was in Twilight, and were just making fun of him. But in general, he's done a fantastic job as an actor post.
Everybody, please, every time they cast Batman, they get dumped on.
Yep.
Stop doing it.
Yes, right.
There's no bad Batmans. I mean, you talk about Clooney. Listen, that's a whole different universe.
Yeah,
it's a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, when Michael Keaton, people were like, "Oh, Mr. Mom, Mr. Mom."
Yeah. Yep. It was the original fan backlash. Was Michael Keaton as Batman?
Yeah. And Affleck, people went berserk,
and he did great.
And there's a tweet. There's a tweet on my Twitter on May whenever they announced it, that just says, "I like it." That's all I tweeted. And Ben Affleck was great, and I can't wait to see him and Michael Keaton in Flashpoint. And I hope this dude shows up too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not? I really dug it. Let's get Clooney in there. Let's go No Way Home. Let's get all the Batmans.
Yep,
they're all around except Adam West.
This is I think actually encapsulates what I was trying to say earlier better than I did. So thank you, Sean.
Okay.
But I agree. I don't see Pattinson, and this is what Sean says. I don't see Pattinson when I look at this Batman. I can look at most other Batman and recognize the actors playing him, but I just see Batman when Robert Pattinson is in the costume. And that's what I really like about Robert Pattinson's portrayal of the character is he just felt like he was playing Batman, and he got and a lot of the actors actually did this. Penguin as well. Jim Gordon, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Like they just embodied the characters, and I didn't feel like these were actors playing the characters. They were just the characters, and I was, I was just enraptured in the story that was taking place.
Right.
So yeah, I thought again, I love the film. Going into it, I was a little worried, but I actually walked out of the theater, like both Colin and I are like, that was really good. That was actually a really good movie. And then the more I marinated on it, I was just like, wow, I need to go see it again. But the part for me that really nailed it was just that turn at the end with the flare. And if I had one critique of this, is the trailer itself showed scenes from the entire movie.
Right.
And so I did have a little bit of the context where like, wait, that hasn't happened yet. I don't know how it's going to play out. So I wish they didn't show as much as they did in the trailer, or maybe I should have just not watched the trailer, I guess. But I thought the movie was fantastic. It didn't feel long, even though it was long. And I really dug it. I'm excited to see what happens next. I hope Matt Reeves gets to do 3 of these films.
Well, I mean, this movie was pushed back due to COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he already has a plan in place so that once this weekend happens, they can just start getting it all done.
Yeah. And yeah, I think he's earned it, because I think he's had an approach. This feels like a comic book, and because of that, you can just have there's so many stories over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comics that you can pull from to make many more movies with this cast. And I hope the cast comes back for it, because they all did. If there wasn't a bad acting job in the whole film, really, that I can think. Maybe it's not a character or something, but across the board, everybody I thought nailed their parts.
Right.
Right. All right. Well, there's only one thing left to do. It's something we haven't really gotten to do that much. So much so, I don't think I have a banner for it. I'm going to do it right now while I think about it.
All right.
But, on Toy Geeks, we have a segment that we like to call Stump John, where we show different action figure accessories and try to stump him on his knowledge of all things toys. But Ralph is a VHS aficionado. So much so, he's probably most famous as VHS Dude on what was like Vine, but you've been on as well. But VHS Dude, and one of the pioneers of pulling clips from VHS tapes and putting them online.
A pioneer.
I'm going to talk you up. So let me shut up and let me talk you up, my friend. Anyway, so instead of action figure accessories, Stump Ralph will be us showing a VHS cover and seeing if you can guess what it is. This was sent in a few weeks ago, I think, when we were doing our Book of Boba Fett episode. But without any further ado, it's time for...
That's what she said.
It's that time again. It's time where we try to stump John Ralph on all things VHS tape related.
Wow. Stump Jay on his co-host. Which co-host is this?
It's time to stump that Ralph.
Now you were going to do this on our last episode, forgot, and then told me to remind you for this episode. I'm only excited about this because I'm curious to see what it is. I'm terrified though.
Yeah, I need to look back on the email to see, because I've had it sitting here on my desktop for a couple of weeks now. Let me just double check to see.
Oh, do I need to close the chat like John does?
Yes, yeah, you can go to the.
I went to private chat.
Private chat. Yep. So let me just make sure I stump Ralph. So yes, this was sent in by Phil. And let me make sure I have the answer. Okay, all right, I have the answer. It is locked and loaded. People playing at home, feel free to you do Stump John so much, it's in my head automatically. I'm sorry.
Right.
All right. Anywho, all right, you ready, Ralph?
Uh-huh.
Time to see how
man
you are.
I don't like this. I exactly know what this is. In fact, let me tell you something. It's not here with me, but this movie, I have like 3 reels on a Viewmaster.
You do? I had no idea what this movie is.
Yeah. So this is a Walt Disney movie called The Island on Top of the World.
Let me double check. Yep, The Island on Top of the World. On the top of the world.
Yeah, and I only know that because of that little blimp up there. I've never seen the movie, but I just this week realized I had this on Viewmaster.
Well done, Ralph. You did it. See? You're all stressed out for nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, idea.
Yeah.
Well, if you're watching this now and you would like to send in your submissions for Stump Ralph, there it is. Yeah, Viewmaster Reel. Feel free to send those to geekdadlife@gmail.com. That's geekdadlife@gmail.com. Oh my goodness. Well done. Well done. That was like no scratch. You had it.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that dirigible,
like, isn't it it's a dirigible.
I don't know.
Dirigible. I don't know. Anyway.
That's what the Batman needed. Some of those animated series dirigibles.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's great about this is this back end. This back end, I like that it looks like the animated series Batmobile back end.
Yeah. It does have that feel. Aside from like the gigantic engine. But anyways, Ralph, that's it. That's it for today's Screen Geeks. Oh my goodness. Thank you for coming right from the theater to jump on live in front of everybody in the internet world.
So the movie started at 2:30. Right now it's almost 7:30. I'm starving.
Yes. We'll let you get out of here. Coming up on this channel, I got and reviewed the Jim Gordon set. So this will be dropping tomorrow on the channel before Toy Geeks, probably, I don't know, 12 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock, depends how quickly I can edit the thing. It'll be a shorter one, but it's this Batman Lieutenant Gordon set, and my question will be, is it worth it? This set was 30 something bucks. So definitely be on the lookout for that video tomorrow. Make sure you hit the like button right now if you haven't done that yet. Toy Geeks will be tomorrow at 9 p.m. And check out Ralph's current channel at Live Action Star Wars. You have an upcoming live stream this week, yeah?
Oh, well, yeah. So I have a live stream tomorrow morning.
Oh, tomorrow morning,
where I'm going to be reviewing this.
Yes,
Obi-Wan lightsaber, and then every Wednesday. So there's some news coming this Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Live Action Star Wars before the Book of Boba Fett used to be a bi-weekly show.
Yeah.
Right. And so we are going back to Live Action Star Wars being a bi-weekly show for the audio feed. Where we'll do the regular episodes where we're covering movies, documentaries, film. We realized that when we continue to do it on a weekly basis, we're going to burn out of Star Wars stuff to watch by the time Kenobi happens.
Okay.
So we're going back to a bi-weekly show for the audio feed. But if you subscribe at liveactionstarwars.com, every other week we're doing data link. So this is going to be open to anything Star Wars related. Ooh. So we're talking about the Battle for Endor this Wednesday. Going to be exciting. And then the following week, friend of the show, friend of yours, Rick DeMint, who does Portraits, is joining us on the show fresh off of his trip on the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh, that'll be exciting to hear.
So he comes back on the 15th and we record the 16th.
Nice.
So we're going to, even if you don't feel like watching Battle for Endor, don't blame you. Every other week, we're going to be talking about just Star Wars news, casting. I might even talk about the Bad Batch. But I doubt it.
All right. Well,
we'll see.
You can check that out at liveactionstarwars.com, or you can find just search, like I just did, liveactionstarwars.com. Subscribe, click the bell. This is happening tomorrow morning. I will definitely be hate watching, but I'll still hit that like. Actually, I already hit the like button, but I'm going to unlike it and then like it again.
Props to me for deciding what I'm going to be wearing ahead of time during the video.
Are you going to wear that same thing?
Yeah. All of the videos, because this is the first time I'm doing a live lightsaber review. I did a lightsaber review for this one. And I usually take a picture of me going, ooh, and then put it as the thing. But since it's a live stream and it's happening before, I'm like, okay, all right. I'm going to have to make
what time is it? 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Okay, all right.
Be there, be square.
I'll be there. I'll be heckling from the
liveactionstarwars.com. All right. We need more followers in the Riddler, just saying.
It's true. Yes, it's next goal for your channel, my friend. I have faith you'll get there. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. And again, tomorrow got a couple of things hitting the channel with this review of the Batman Lieutenant Gordon 2-pack, as well as Toy Geeks at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with Ralph and I. And until next time, hasta luego. Goodbye. Take care, everybody.